Welcome back for the 10th episode of the Star Wars Battlefront Clone Trooper Challenge, where I attempt to beat every map in the game as a clone trooper without dying. I once again apologize for the huge gap in posting on this channel. I've been spending a lot of time working on writing, video production, and recording for my music the past 6 months. My gigging schedule is a lot slower now, so I'm really excited to dive back in and show you guys some really cool things I've been working on. After the success of the Boots Clone Wars edit I dropped at the beginning of the year, I want to throw some other edits and stuff like that into the video rotation. If that's something you guys would like to see, please let me know in the comments. Also, if you're not familiar with the challenge rules, please check out the first episode for the full background. Alright, let's dive into the challenge. The last episode I talked briefly about the history of Yavin 4 during the Clone Wars, or really, the lack thereof. I extrapolated that a battle taking place on Yavin would center around some ancient Sith artifacts, something in the realm of the Dark Reaper from the 2002 Clone Wars video game. Let's assume that the Separatists were systematically going through all of the temples on the planet to find what they were looking for. The arena was the first one they attacked, resulting in them leaving empty-handed due to heavy clone resistance. However, hidden messages and inscriptions in the arena led both parties to realize that the artifacts they were looking for were stored in a different temple complex, which would bring us to Yavin 4 Temple. Yavin 4 Temple is an irregularly shaped map with 7 command posts. Both sides started out with 3 posts each, with the remaining one in the middle starting at neutral. The Republic's command posts are located in a triangle formation on the north side of the map, while the Separatists are staggered in a more diagonal pattern. The namesake of the map, the Temple, is the furthest north, and is the vehicle spawn for the Republic. However, the only vehicles they get are speeder bikes. We haven't talked about the speeder bikes yet in this challenge because we're trying to beat each level without dying, which is virtually impossible when you ride one of these things. If you look at it the wrong way, it's going to blow up. They are pretty useful for getting around on flat open maps, but on maps like Yavin with 1,000 trees, it's just a recipe for disaster. They also come with a blaster cannon on the front, but it's not very powerful and it's incredibly inaccurate. Another interesting thing about this map, there are these cool blaster cannon conning towers sprinkled everywhere. They're not super useful, but it's a cool detail they included from the movies. The other 2 command posts the Republic starts out with are Altar and Dry Pool. Altar is a small pyramid structure, and the only way to capture it is to sit at the top. The dry pool is basically an empty pool with this long footbridge attached to it, also known as a viaduct. The footbridge stretches out over half the map, and if it connected all the way to the end, it would honestly make the dry pool a much more strategic post. However, the bridge cuts off to a sheer vertical drop, which will insta-kill you unless you're playing as the Jet Trooper. The main Separatist command post is Overlook. Like the Temple, the Overlook is a vehicle spawn, and has one of those conning towers. Now, we've already talked about the balance issues in this game for the clones, and how they can usually scrape by since they have better vehicles, but this map is an exception to that rule. The droids start out with not 1, but 2 AATs, which I've said in previous episodes are probably the most useful ground vehicles in the game. The AI are incredible shots with the cannon and can pick you off from a distance with it. The Staps are the Separatist answer to the Republic speeder bikes, and they are so much more useful. While not as fast or maneuverable, the Staps take 0 damage when running into trees, walls, or whatever else. They also have 2 cannons on the front that are equivalent to the blaster turrets that are sprinkled throughout the game. The droids tend to abandon these pretty quickly, so if you can scoop one up, it can be just as useful as the AAT against infantry. The second CIS command post is the Fountain. It's protected by 3 blaster cannons, which makes it very difficult to capture. The last command post the CIS starts out with is the Viaduct, which is at the bottom of the hill that the dry pool sits on top of. For whatever reason, the AATs always gravitate towards this command post, so it's best to steer clear of it. In the center of the map is the one neutral command post, which is the Forest Ruins. This post is one of my all-time favorites to attack or defend in the game. You can't see too well because of the vegetation, and there are so many different places to take cover and flank the enemy. This is classic, intense Star Wars Battlefront action. The Republic spawns evenly at their 3 command posts, but are usually able to take the Forest Ruins before the CIS since they are moving downhill. The CIS spawns a bulk of their forces at the Viaduct, which does 2 things. It makes it borderline impossible for the clones to move down from the dry pool, and it makes a deadly crossfire at the Forest Ruins. The ruins very quickly become a droidica meat grinder, which dwindles the Republic's tickets and generally leads to a quick defeat. Combine this with the lopsided vehicle reinforcements, and this makes for a challenging map to make it through without dying. It gets even worse though. Since the challenge rules state I can use every class exactly 3 times, I put myself in a dilemma. The natural choice for this map would have been the Clone Trooper. He has decent health, his blaster rifle is long range, and he is pretty maneuverable. However, I used up 2 of the 3 lives on other maps, and I still had 2 Jet Trooper lives that I knew would be relatively useless on the remaining maps. With the rest of the lives already assigned out to the remaining maps, the Jet Trooper was the only choice that I had, and boy was it the wrong choice. The Jet Trooper is great for close quarter maps where you can jump between cover to spam grenades and blaster fire with your commando pistol. He has less overall health, but makes up for it in maneuverability. This map is just not good for the jet trooper. While there are plenty of spots to take cover on the ground, once you take flight you will most likely be shot down within a matter of seconds, and the lower health makes it even harder. Based on that, I knew I had to avoid the forest ruins at all costs. I could spend the entire map fighting it out there and still lose, much like the hallway on Bespin platforms. There was no point in spawning at the temple since it's so far away from the action, and since I was trying to avoid the ruins, the altar was a no-go. That left me with the dry pool. While fighting downhill to the viaduct would be hard, I knew taking away that spawn from the seps would buy the clones at the forest ruins some more time, so I would start there. Like Bespin platforms, my strategy for this map would be command post focus in order to pull the droid's attention away. As long as I could maintain a majority of the posts for the Republic and get some kills along the way, then we would have a fighting chance. Starting off, I got down the hill as fast as possible. Turns out there's a small platform that gives you decent cover at the viaduct. I had to move quickly since the AATs would be heading to my position. After taking the viaduct in the nick of time, I jumped back up to the walkway and used it to get to the overlook unscathed.
We've lost a command post.
I tried destroying this conning tower, but instead blew up my only source of ammo for the surrounding 3 miles like an idiot. The droids took back the viaduct, but my plan helped keep the tickets relatively even.
Reinforcements.
After taking the overlook, I flew over to the fountain. I discovered through a lot of trial and error that you can capture the command posts by landing on top of the columns. This keeps you safe from the 3 heavy blaster turrets surrounding the fountain and gives you a good firing position. Even with the high ground, I still had some difficulty taking this command post. At this point, we had a majority of the command posts, which kickstarted the CIS ticket bleed. I just had to keep the command post captured or neutral. You notice I absolutely refused to leave this perch, and with good reason. This map took me over 40 tries to beat without dying, and most of those deaths happened in the fountain. I'm sure I could have stolen one of the AATs and killed my way to victory, but I really wanted to get stealthy with this one.
Command post. captured a command post. We've lost the command post.
The last few droids took back the Overlook, but we had basically locked in the victory at that point. As long as I could stay alive, we would pull through. This proved by far to be the most difficult map in the challenge, even more so than Geonosis. And while Geonosis was fun and felt like the challenge, I actually started to resent this map because of how imbalanced it is. Luckily for me, the final 5 maps in the challenge were an absolute blast, and rival the Geonosis win for how epic they were. Up next in the challenge, we'll be shipping out to Tatooine, which has some of the most enjoyable maps in the game. Thank you for tuning into this episode, and I'll see you guys again soon.